Hello, good morning, and happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday at 10 Being Civil in Minnesota. I am Megan Mays. I am an attorney. I practice in the state of Minnesota, and I come here every Saturday at 10 to talk about issues involving families and individuals in the civil court system and impacting families in family court. In addition to being a lawyer, I'm also a qualified neutral, meaning I can do alternative dispute resolution. Not every case is meant for going to court, so we want to make sure that everybody has options. This is not intended to be legal advice. I am not your lawyer, and if you do need that, there are great resources out there. Some information can be found on lawhelpmn.org, and additional information can be found on the Minnesota Judicial Branch website. So you can find these weekly episodes. We are on episode 11, which is very exciting. Last week we did a top 10 what not to do. And this week we had some hi, good morning. Pop in and say hi on the comments so I can see who's all here. And if you have questions, go ahead and post them here. You can also find the episodes on YouTube at Being Civil in Minnesota. So today we have several member questions. And so I'm going to go ahead and get right to it. So one of the member questions wanted to know about what is the first court hearing like? What they have said is an ICMC, which is an initial case management conference, and they don't know what it is. They want to know, hi, good morning, say hi in the chat, good to see you. An initial case management conference is really something that was put together, and it's intended to help parties try to make decisions before things go awry, before people start spending a lot of money on lawyers, and before they start spending a lot of emotional time and actual time on their case. And Katrina and Sarah, I'm hoping I'm saying that right. They were great to jump in on the member board questions. But an ICMC is basically something that is supposed to happen within about 4 weeks of the case being started. And the longer these cases go on, the more conflict that can happen. So we want to make sure that, the courts want to give people an opportunity to try to settle before things get too heated. How soon you can get in on the court's calendar and whether they schedule those automatically depends county by county. And so you can contact the court administration in that county to see what their process is. Because it's intended to not be such an adversarial process, some counties say that you cannot do any other hearings until that takes place. You can't have a temporary motion hearing. But there are some times where an initial case management conference may not be appropriate, for example, if there's domestic abuse. The ICMC will typically have the parties fill out something called like a data sheet. And that is just a document where the court asks for information about what you're wanting, what the other person wants, what's in dispute. And it gives the court kind of an idea of what might be a good path forward for the family. Some people in the group mentioned social early neutral evaluation. If it's issues related to kiddos, there can be not only the social issues, but kids are incredibly expensive, and so there are financial issues as well. Those data sheets are typically just given to the judge, and they don't become a part of the court file, and they're not typically given to the other side. At the ICMC, when you go there, it is not a time to resolve contested issues. It's not a time to make arguments or, to feel pressured into making some kind of a deal. Nothing needs to happen at that proceeding, and so you can just go in, and the court should use that as an opportunity to help give you guys a path forward, not necessarily resolve disputes. Although anytime you're in court and there are agreements, you can put them on the record, but don't feel pressured to do so. We also had some questions about child support, and so I'm going to go ahead and read that one here. And the question kind of reads, am I the a-hole or are they the a-hole? So let's find out. Okay, I have a question about child support. My child support was ordered to be paid by my child's father starting June 1st, so about 5.5 weeks ago. Nothing's been paid yet. My ex is telling me that I have to fill out some sort of paperwork in order to get it taken from his check. Told me that the state is refusing to take a payment until I sign this paper. I think he's full of shit. And he's the kind of boy that has zero accountability and zero responsibility. Literally does nothing for himself. That's what his mommy and sister are for, according to him. So I think this is just way of me having to do the work for him, and I absolutely refuse. I am on state assistance, and therefore the county is involved, but it was my understanding that the support office would contact me if they needed anything. Is it my responsibility to figure out how he is going to support his children? There were some great responses from Sarah and Megan. Sarah put a screenshot on there, and one of the recommendations was call your county worker. And if you have county assistance, you should be assigned a child support worker. One of the things noted was that the child support worker had not been responsive. Again, we are in that 5.5 week mark. There's a significant amount of stuff that has to go on behind the scenes before the child support worker has all the documentation they need to implement the income withholding from the other party's paycheck. So some of those forms are going to need to be filled out both by dad's employer, and if it's going to be direct deposited, mom is going to have to fill out some paperwork. No, you do not have to fill out their paperwork. That is their responsibility. So I would think that contacting your child support worker, either if phone is not working, most people have access to setting up an online account. That may be a better way. You could maybe get the email address if you call the county office, and that might be a better way to reach out to them. The other question was kind of about, what do I wear to trial for custody? This question does come up a lot. I think the worst I've ever heard of for showing up to trial was a shirt revealing a tattoo of a man's genitals on their lady bits, and it was fully visible and going right down the front. And while I don't judge that type of tattoo, I perhaps would have covered that up maybe. Now, does that sound judgy? I don't know. I'm not trying to be judgy. We do have a certain age and demographic of judges that have their own opinions, and trying to be cognizant of that. So, number one, don't do that. But beyond that, we are thinking about just being respectful of dressing up, a nice top, nice bottoms. You don't have to wear a suit. Most lawyers are going to wear a suit. The judge will be wearing a robe. Most of the court staff will have on, a nice business casual kind of attire. So as long as we're not being overly distracting with what you wear, for me, it's really about what the people have to say. I have seen people come in t-shirts and cut off shorts. Do I know that they had alternative clothes at home? Was that maybe the best, most clean clothing that they had? Possibly. But the judge did not seem to give them the benefit of the doubt. So I do think that there are still some perceptions. Now, baseball hats, no. Gum chewing, no. Food, any of that, no. Most of the time you're going to have a purse or a bag locked up. They don't like a lot of bulky stuff in the courtroom, so that can be, and that's mostly for safety reasons. And then one of the other questions was about back child support. And we did cover child support in episode 4, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. Getting back support really depends on whether or not you had a court order and they're not paying you, or whether this is the first time you're asking for child support. If you're modifying it, you can only go back to the date that you file the motion to ask for the child support number to be changed. So it's incredibly important, if you do want to do that, to file as soon as possible. So I do want to just give a big thank you to everybody who commented on the member questions this week. I think we're having some really good discussions, and we have a lot of passionate people that are sharing their experiences and wanting to know more information, and I'm loving that. So if you think that somebody would benefit from this group, or they have some questions, please send them to Being Civil in Minnesota, the Facebook group, or they can catch the episodes on YouTube and subscribe there. So I hope everybody has a fantastic Saturday. I will see you guys next week. Take care.